was charming, intelligent, and deadly, Ted Bundy's name still sends chills down the spine. But what about Samuel Little, the man who confessed to over 90 murders? This is the story of 10 killers who shocked the world. Theodore John Kaczynski, the Unabomber, years active, 1978 to 1995, proven victims 3, possible victims 3. Theodore John Kaczynski, known as the Unabomber, conducted a nationwide bombing campaign between 1978 and 1995. Kaczynski mailed explosive devices to individuals and organizations, targeting those he believed were contributing to technological advancement. Kaczynski was a child prodigy. After earning a PhD in mathematics and briefly working as a professor, he retreated to a remote cabin in Montana in 1971 to live a primitive, self-sufficient lifestyle. It was there that he began crafting his bombs and penning his infamous manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. His attacks killed 3 people and injured 23 others. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Fact: Kaczynski's manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future, argued that technological progress was harming humanity, a document that gained significant attention upon its publication. David Berkowitz, 1953, The Son of Sam, years active, 1976–1977, proven victims 6, possible victims 6. David Berkowitz, known as the Son of Sam, is a convicted serial killer who terrorized New York City between 1976 and 1977. Berkowitz was responsible for the deaths of 6 people and the wounding of several others in a series of shootings, which he carried out primarily on warm summer nights. Berkowitz targeted young couples in parked cars, shooting them at close range. His attacks were often random, and he sent several letters to local newspapers during his killing spree, taunting police and claiming he was commanded to kill by a demon speaking through his neighbor's dog. These letters helped to establish his nickname, Son of Sam. Berkowitz was arrested in August 1977 after a police officer noticed his car near a crime scene. He was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Fact: Berkowitz later claimed that he had been suffering from severe mental health issues and that he had not acted alone, but rather as part of a larger conspiracy. Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer, years active 1971 to 1979, proven victims 8, possible victims 50 to 130 plus. Rodney James Alcala, infamously known as the dating game killer, was a convicted serial killer and rapist active in the 1970s. He was convicted of killing at least 5 women and girls in California and New York, though authorities believe his actual victim count could be much higher. Alcala often used his charm and photography skills to lure victims, offering to take their pictures before attacking them. His crimes involved both physical assault and murder, with many victims being strangled. He was arrested multiple times throughout his life but avoided conviction for years due to a lack of evidence. In 2010, he was sentenced to death in California after being convicted of multiple murders. Alcala died of natural causes in 2021 while on death row. Fact: Alcala appeared as a contestant on the television show The Dating Game in 1978 during his killing spree, earning him his nickname. Joel David Rifkin, the Long Island serial killer, years active 1989 to 1993, proven victims 9, possible victims 17 plus. Joel David Rifkin is an American serial killer who was convicted of murdering 17 women in New York during the late 1980s and early 1990s. Rifkin targeted sex workers, luring them into his vehicle before strangling them to death. He would then dispose of their bodies, often dumping them in remote areas around Long Island. Rifkin's killing spree lasted for several years before he was finally apprehended in 1993, when he was caught after being stopped by police for a traffic violation. During his arrest, police discovered the body of one of his victims in the back of his truck, leading to his immediate capture. Rifkin was convicted of 9 murders, though he later confessed to 17 killings in total. He was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Fact: Rifkin's case was notable for its connection to the growing awareness of serial killers in the 1990s and the challenges police faced in linking his crimes over such a long period of time. Edmund Emil Kemper, the co-ed killer, years active 1964 to 1973, proven victims 10, possible victims 10. Edmund Emil Kemper III is an American serial killer in the early 1970s. He was convicted of killing 10 people, including 6 young women, his grandparents, his mother, and her friend. Kemper began his crimes as a teenager by killing his grandparents in 1964. After being released from a psychiatric facility at age 21, he embarked on a killing spree in California. Kemper's victims were often hitchhiking female college students. Kemper's final murders involved his mother and her friend in 1973. Afterward, he called the police and confessed to his crimes, providing detailed accounts of his actions. At 6 feet 9 inches tall and highly intelligent, Kemper's imposing presence and calm demeanor shocked investigators. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Fact: Kemper cooperated extensively with law enforcement after his arrest, offering insights into the psychology of serial killers, which have been used in criminal profiling. Dennis Lynn Rader, the BTK killer, years active, 1974 to 1991, proven victims 10, possible victims 10. Dennis Lynn Rader, known as the BTK killer, bind, torture, kill, is an American serial killer who terrorized Wichita, Kansas between 1974 and 1991. Rader was responsible for the deaths of at least 10 people, including both men and women. His modus operandi involved binding, torturing, and killing his victims before sending taunting letters to the police. Rader's first known victims were the Otero family, whom he killed in 1974. Over the next 17 years, he continued to kill and send cryptic letters to local news outlets, taunting law enforcement with information only the killer would know. His letters included detailed descriptions of his crimes, and he often signed them with the initials BTK. Fact: Rader led a seemingly normal life as a church leader and compliance officer, which shocked his neighbors and the community when his true identity was revealed. Robert Christian Hansen, the butcher baker, years active 1971 to 1983, proven victims 17, possible victims 37. Robert Christian Hansen was an American serial killer active in Anchorage, Alaska, between 1972 and 1983. He was convicted of abducting, assaulting, and murdering at least 17 women during this period. Hansen's modus operandi involved luring women, often sex workers or dancers, by offering them money for services or photography sessions. He would then abduct them, fly them to remote areas in his private plane, and release them into the wilderness. Once released, he would hunt them down using a Ruger Mini 14 rifle and hunting knives. Hansen was arrested in 1983 after a victim managed to escape and provide authorities with information leading to his capture. He confessed to the murders and was sentenced to 461 years, plus life in prison without the possibility of parole. Hansen died in prison on August 21, 2014. Ted Bundy, years active, 1971 to 1978, proven victims 20, possible victims 30 plus. Ted Bundy was an American serial killer active primarily in the 1970s. He was convicted of killing more than 30 women across several states, though the true number of victims remains uncertain. Bundy used deception to lure his victims, often pretending to be injured or in need of help, before attacking them. Facing murder charges in Colorado 1975, Bundy engineered 2 dramatic escapes and committed further assaults in Florida, including 3 murders before being recaptured in 1978. His crimes typically involved kidnapping and killing young women, often leaving their bodies in secluded areas. Bundy's killing spree ended with his arrest in 1978. After escaping custody twice, he was recaptured and sentenced to death in Florida. Bundy was executed in 1989. Fact: Bundy was known for his charm and intelligence, traits that allowed him to deceive both his victims and law enforcement officers. Gary Leon Ridgway, the Green River Killer, years active. 1982 to 1998, proven victims 49, possible victims 90 plus. Gary Leon Ridgway is one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Active primarily during the 1980s and 1990s, Ridgway confessed to killing 71 women, though the official number of victims is 49, enough to secure his place as a horrifying figure in criminal history. Ridgway lured his victims by pretending to seek their services, often using his bare hands or ligatures. After the murders, he would dump their bodies in wooded areas or along the Green River, earning his nickname. It wasn't until 2001 that advancements in DNA technology linked him to several of the Green River murders, leading to his arrest. To avoid the death penalty, Ridgway cooperated with authorities and provided information on additional victims, resulting in a life sentence without parole. Fact: Ridgway initially denied being the killer, but later confessed to the murders and helped authorities identify additional victims. Samuel Little, 1940 to 2020. The most prolific serial killer in U.S. history, years active, 1970 to 2005, proven victims 61, possible victims 93 plus. Samuel Little was an American serial killer convicted of 3 murders, but he later confessed to killing 93 people, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history. His crimes spanned across several states from the late 1970s to the early 2000s. Little primarily targeted women, many of whom were vulnerable due to issues like addiction or involvement in sex work. He would often strangle his victims, leaving their bodies in remote locations or in plain sight. Little's killings went largely undetected for years due to his ability to blend into society and the difficulty in linking his crimes. It wasn't until 2012, when he was arrested on a drug charge, that his DNA was matched to a 1984 murder in Los Angeles. Samuel Little was convicted in 2014 for 3 murders and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He continued to confess to numerous murders during his incarceration. Fact: Little's confessions have been verified by authorities, and his victims are being identified, making him the most confirmed serial killer in U.S. history.